And Indiana has done it. Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx. This is Howard setting up McDonald, knocking down the tray. Finds a cutting McDonald, easy deuce.
You won't believe what the Indiana Fever just pulled off. Without their biggest star Caitlin Clark, abandoned mid-season by veteran forward Aliyah Boston, and facing the most dominant team in the WNBA, they were expected to crumble. Every sign pointed to a spectacular failure. The Minnesota Lynx, led by MVP frontrunner Napheesa Collier, were poised to cruise to another Commissioner's Cup title. But what unfolded was a stunning display of heart and resilience that turned every prediction on its head. Kelsey Mitchell, Aliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard stepped up and delivered a performance that left fans speechless. This game didn't just change the scoreboard, it changed how the world sees this Fever team. And what Caitlin Clark said after the final buzzer, just 6 words, captured exactly why this win means everything. If you ride with Indiana, drop a comment, "I've got the Fever." Now picture this. The Indiana Fever walking into the Target Center for their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, and their roster is barely holding together. Caitlin Clark, the sophomore phenom who had carried this franchise all season, missed her 3rd straight game with a lingering groin injury. And this wasn't just a typical injury absence, this was their leading scorer, their top playmaker, the player who packed arenas from coast to coast. Her absence was seismic. Asked about Caitlin's status, the team made it clear, she's progressing, but this isn't about rushing back. It's about long-term health, no setbacks, and making sure she feels fully confident before stepping back on the floor. And as if Clark's injury wasn't enough, the Fever were also missing Damaris Dantas, who was away representing Brazil at the FIBA Ameri Cup, leaving yet another gap in the rotation. The hits just kept coming. Then came the shocker. Aliyah Boston, the veteran they signed in the off-season for leadership and stability, abruptly quit the team after just 9 games and was waived. Let that sink in. A player brought in to be a mentor and stabilizer walked away mid-season, leaving her team in the lurch. Boston was being paid a max contract to lead by example. But once she got benched and the criticism rolled in, she reportedly refused to play. Instead of fighting through the adversity, she gave up and got paid to sit out. That's the message the Fever's young core was left with: when things get tough, check out. Now let's talk about the team they were up against. The Minnesota Lynx weren't just contenders, they were juggernauts. Entering the Commissioner's Cup final with a 14-1 record, they were the best team in the WNBA. They were also the defending Cup champions, playing on their home floor, with a sold-out crowd behind them. With Collier leading the charge, Las Vegas oddsmakers had the Lynx favored by 14 points. 14 points. The narrative was already written, Indiana didn't belong on this stage. Sports analysts predicted a blowout. This was supposed to be a coronation for the Lynx. Even Fever head coach Stephanie White acknowledged the challenge, saying Minnesota looked more connected than ever, both offensively and defensively, and described their offense as a dance, flowing, rhythmic, and nearly impossible to stop. The Fever's best hope? Disrupt that dance and somehow shake the Lynx out of rhythm. But this was more than just a tough matchup. This was supposed to be Indiana's moment, their first taste of championship-level competition. And everything that could go wrong had gone wrong. The roster was decimated. Critics were circling like vultures. It was David versus Goliath, but this time, David had a broken slingshot, and half his team had left the battlefield. To make matters worse, Indiana looked completely out of sync without Caitlin Clark in their recent games. They had dropped 3 of their last 5 leading up to the final. Their offense, once dynamic and dangerous, had slowed to a crawl. Ball movement vanished. Players stopped trusting the system, forcing contested shots instead of swinging the ball. Aliyah Boston, one of their most important weapons, was being iced out. She'd establish perfect post position, call for the ball, and watch as guards launched perimeter shots instead. The frustration on her face was clear. Clark wasn't just a scorer or passer. She was the offensive engine, the one orchestrating movement, ensuring everyone got touches, keeping defenders on edge. Without her, the Fever looked disjointed. Opponents adjusted easily. Now they could key in on Mitchell and Boston without worrying about Clark carving them up. Coach White acknowledged the challenge. She said it wasn't about using the cup as a stepping stone, this was about winning, about seizing the moment. But she also admitted the lineup had lacked consistency, and the chemistry wasn't there yet. And when you're facing the best team in the league, inconsistency is a death sentence. The Commissioner's Cup final became a pressure cooker. Could this team learn to win without their leader? Could they rediscover the unity and flow that made them special? Then, against all odds, they did. Coach Stephanie White has a saying, "Pressure is a privilege." And her team proved it. Asked how it felt to beat the defending champions on their own floor, she responded, "It feels great. We knew we had to come in with energy. We knew they'd go on runs. It was about weathering those runs and making our own. And weather them they did." From the opening tip, you could feel something different in the air. The Fever came out blazing, fearless, focused, ferocious. They weren't playing to survive, they were playing to win, for each other, and for the star who couldn't suit up. When asked how they had the confidence to take down the Lynx in their own building, one player answered simply, "We knew we were capable. God has equipped us." Coach kept reminding us, one possession at a time. Even with the Lynx trying to wall off the paint and smother Boston and Howard, both players finished with double-doubles. Boston credited Howard for setting the tone and bringing that fire. The rest of the team followed her lead. They turned their adversity into fuel. They silenced the critics. They didn't just show up, they took the Commissioner's Cup by force. They did it without Caitlin Clark. They did it without Bonner. They did it without excuses. And afterward, Caitlin Clark, watching from the sidelines, summed up the moment with 6 perfect words, "This is what it's all about. Indiana Fever, welcome to the big stage."